Alright, out here with the Quake Grom, and I'm actually testing out some new ramps from Proline. These are like, I think they're like the big jump ramps or something like that, but package of 3 sells for 70 bucks, and the cool thing is they are stackable and pretty light, so I can carry these with one hand, no problem. And so yeah, I've also got the Quake tuned with the 2S brushless power. Also did a little shock tuning on that as well, so we're going to be trying it out, seeing how it actually drives. And then just wanted to do kind of a 2026 channel update. So it's been a while, about a year since the last channel update. I wanted to answer some questions I had asked of me on the post section, and so yeah, we'll go through that and drive this little truck and see how everything performs. I did have some questions, so Mike Demish, I think, asked best 2-wheel drive race buggy right now. You know, it's the end of January here, and I would say right now I really like the TLR22X. It's a great little buggy. Normally I would say like get an associate, you really can't go wrong with an associate, but TLR I think has been killing it with their new 22X 2-wheel drive line, the 22XT and the buggy. So I think that would probably be the way to go. They are going to be releasing a B7.1 I think pretty soon, so maybe that'll be good. But yeah, a lot of people just kind of like the B7 5-gear transmission, some durability issues maybe there in the front with the narrow kick-up. So yeah, at this point I would say, holy crap, that thing sends it. Yeah, I would say TLR22X right now. You know, I don't have everything, obviously. There are other buggies out there, but for me personally, I'm usually like the quality of the TLR stuff, so yeah, I think that's a good choice. Next question from Miso Dan: what is the best bang for buck 8th or 10th scale servo? I typically run Savox. I do work with Savox, so they do send me servos and stuff. But I did check the prices on the servos, and even something kind of more entry level like the 1267 is still pretty pricey. So I would say honestly the best bang for the buck servo, if you want like a really good servo for really cheap, get a Spectrum. I think it's the S665. It's a servo that comes in all their 6S cars. Crazy fast, crazy strong, and then you can get them at like Jenny's RC or something for like 25 bucks. So I buy like 4, 5, 6 of those, honestly. You know, just buy like 100 bucks worth of those. You'll have like 4 servos, crazy fast for 8 scale. I guess 10 scale as well. There should be no reason not to run that on 10 scale, but that's going to be my suggestion if you want like a, okay, I think I'm supposed to do a flip or something there, but yeah, that would be my pick for cheap and really good servos. They're basically the Arrma 6S stock servos. Really, really good. Okay, I think I'm doing that right. Next question is coming from T-Bone 700. Crane, EXP, or XRT for my first big scale? I have the Mini XRT and Gorgon. Great choices. Both of those are really good cars. And then helped get my nephew's Vortex up and running from a Facebook Marketplace buy. So EXP or XRT? I guess you're talking the Crane 8S EXP, I'm assuming. Between those, I think the Crane is going to drive a little bit better and be a little bit better off-road. The XRT is really more of an on-road setup with the way they have the tires, and it's just low and flat to the ground. And if you jump those things, they do tend to crack the bottom chassis plate if you're really sending it. So, but it's hard to say because the chassis overall is pretty durable otherwise. I don't like the way the servo is on the XRT, but it is one of the best large-scale trucks. So I don't know. I actually have never had the Crane 8S EXP, so I don't really know exactly how that truck is. I did have the Outcast, but yeah. The other big issue is the pricing. The pricing of these things are getting pretty out of control. I think they're both like $1,000 or $1,200 now. I know the XRT is at least $1,200. And then the Arrmas, I don't know if they're 1,000 or more than 1,000 now. But you definitely get more for your money with the Arrmas, just the quality, the metal parts and stuff. But they are also fairly expensive to fix. So if you don't crash much, I think the crane actually is probably a little bit better of a choice. Better electronics, more for your money. But if you are breaking stuff a lot or you're crashing horribly a lot, then yeah, probably the XRT is a better choice, just because it's easier and cheaper to fix without going too crazy on cost. Like the chassis for a crane is going to be like 130, 140 bucks or something like that, whereas an XRT probably, I don't know, 60? I'm not sure. All right, next question from F. Garcia. Hey Razor, what's on your RC wish list for 2026? So great question. I hope Arrma updates the 8S line. That's one thing I'd like to kind of see, because it's been a while. I also actually don't have the mini crane. So Arrma did send me the Quake and the what do you call it, the Groms, but I don't have the mini crane, so not sure if that is coming or not, but we'll see. Other than that, I definitely want to get the B7.1 from Team Associated. That's coming in about a few weeks, so I've got that on pre-order. You know, I hope TLR comes out with something new in the 10 scale race class, maybe a short course track or a new four-wheel drive or something like that. So that's on like my wish list of what I hope someone makes. But in terms of buying something that's already out, I do have some more budget cars in the pipe works. So yeah, you'll be seeing videos on that. So yeah, that's kind of a good segue into 2026. I want to do a little recap on 2025. I definitely did not put out as much content as the previous year for several reasons. I think I did somewhere around 50-60 videos, so about one a week, but prior to that I was probably putting out like 1.5 on average, so definitely less content. And I'll kind of explain why. I mean, one is that honestly, I just turned 50 a year ago, so kind of changed my perspective on life a little bit. I actually went to a funeral a couple days ago where the guy who died was 47, had 2 kids. Just kind of changes your perspective on life, you know, kind of realizing that you're not going to live forever, and you kind of have to just enjoy the time you have. And I do like making videos and stuff, but not necessarily like all the time. I do have other interests, other things I like to do, other hobbies. So I've been focusing a little bit more on that. Work was a little bit busy, but not super crazy. The other thing that happens is my kids are all in college now, so I do have more time, me and the wife alone, so we can just kind of do whatever we want, whereas before it was just kind of always stuff focused around the kids. So yeah, just kind of different life perspective. So I do love RC, of course, one of my favorite things, but am I going to spend all my time on RC? No, not really. The other reason is that I was doing a lot of reviews, so most of the content I was doing was stuff that, you know, I got sent, or new products or whatever. But I want to change that a little bit more in 2026. I think I'm going to focus a little bit less on quantity and maybe a little more on quality, making videos that I think will be useful or interesting or helpful. Probably going to switch up the reviews a little bit, try and provide better information I think that people find useful. And then I also basically, you know, only make videos when I kind of feel like it, right? I know a lot of people want to make YouTube their job or their profession. They want to quit their day job. They think this is the greatest thing in the world. But for me, you know, making YouTube videos is not something I do for money. It's definitely not something I do to, you know, try to get famous or whatever. It's just something I do for fun that I enjoy. I enjoy RC. I like sharing information as best I can. I like people to hopefully learn something, enjoy the videos, and more importantly, like enjoy the hobby more. Hopefully they're getting something out of these videos, and then able to, you know, whether it's something simple as setting your steering endpoints, or you know, how to set your suspension. All these little things I think help hopefully make your experience with RC a little bit more positive. Okay, got a backflip. That's pretty positive. But yeah, like just trying to you know, make videos when I want, because although I know a lot of people would like to make YouTube videos for a living, that's never been my goal. And you know, they say if you never want to work a day in your life, make your hobby your job. But I kind of view it the other way. If you want to just lose something you love, turn it into your job, and that'll make it a lot less fun real quick, in my opinion. So anyways, that's just kind of recap on 2025. I did focus more on, I think, some kits. So I think I built 5 or 6 kits. Still got more I need to build. I also started a new series on entry-level vehicles. So stuff that's, you know, 100, 200 bucks, at least 10 scale, that come from reputable manufacturers. You know, stuff that I think are an alternative to like the really cheap, like Chinese brands that, you know, yeah, they're cheap and maybe have a lot of metal parts or whatever, but not necessarily the best choice in my opinion for a beginner car. So I did start a new series on that. Let's get to another question from DrewCast76. What's your take on using a 4-wheel drive race buggy for bashing? Is it great performance on asphalt and gravel, or simply lackluster if not on a groomed track? Example, 4-wheel drive race buggy versus Typhon. Yeah, great question. I know a lot of people have interest in kits because they're definitely high quality, good handling, and you would think maybe if it's a race kit it might be something good for bashing. I would say the main thing that, yeah, race kits are going to handle better. They're far more tunable. Yeah, they're just better performing, a lot more precise. That's one other thing I think people don't realize is the precision of the cars, because the fitment, smoothness of the shocks, just basic things like that are a lot higher on a race kit versus a traditional basher. But the downsides are they're actually not set up to be like launched through the air. You know, gigantic jumps. They will break for sure. They're not designed for that. So something like a Typhon, it is based off a race buggy, but it has been beefed up a lot. You know, the drive shaft's a lot bigger, the arms are a lot thicker, heavier duty. Everything's just beefier on that buggy to survive bashing. When you say 4-wheel drive race buggy, it sounds like that's probably implying like a 10 scale race kit. So 10 scale race kits, yeah, don't really make very good bashers. If you're just driving on asphalt, on flat terrain, you're not like trying to launch at huge jumps and stuff, then yeah, you can drive them, but they're gonna get beat up. Like the chassis are all aluminum. Yeah, they're a little bit more expensive, maybe a little bit thinner as well to keep them light. So overall, I would not recommend, for the most part, 4-wheel drive race kits for bashing. Yeah, they will handle well, but they're just gonna break a little more easily. All right, next question from Scotty Montgomery, 1297. I'm considering going 8S with my V5 Notorious. Will the stock motor handle it? Gearing down, if not, will 8S fit into the stock motor mount? Very much appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the comment, and thanks for watching. No, the stock motor will not handle it. The 2050 kV is going to spin at what is that going to be, around 40,000 RPM or so. If you run 8S, it's going to run at, you know, I don't know, 55,000, something like that. Maybe 60,000. That's way too many revolutions. It's going to be spinning way too high, and it's going to burn up essentially. So no, it won't work. Can you fit an 8S motor mount into the stock motor mount? No, I'm pretty sure those are not compatible. Yeah, if you want to stick in a bigger motor, you're going to have to get something probably from MTC. I assume they make something for bigger motors. I'm quite sure, you know, people stick in big cans and stuff in their crane, or I'm sorry, Notorious. So yeah, that would be the way to go. It is possible, but you're going to have to buy some parts and another motor and ESC as well, actually. Crystal Plants, what's a good ESC and motor combination to put in a 6S motor Mojave with 3410 diffs rather than stock 4310? 44 center diff rather than stock 50 tooth. Didn't mean to, but I have the high-speed gears. I've been told 1650 will run hot with those gears going max 5. Yeah, that makes sense. Thinking 1450. So yeah, I got some replies also from Mesodan. You guys look like you go back and forth. Yeah, first off, I would definitely go to the right gears. There's no reason to run those smaller gears. They're going to be lightweight, and I assume those come out of the Limitless or similar vehicles. I'm not totally clear on all the diffs. I know the Typhon has smaller diffs. And then, so smaller diffs are going to be lighter, but they're not going to be quite as durable because there's fewer teeth, so you're going to get excessive wear. You don't have to go down to a lower KV motor. Actually, I would not recommend that in general. Just for gearing, you can always gear up the pinion instead and get back to whatever pinion you need. So like you go from a 50 tooth center to just thought I might send it there, from a 50 to a 44 tooth. I mean, you can just gear up the pinion, but there's really no reason to run those gears. I mean, I'm not sure why you bought those. Maybe the stock gears broke, but I would definitely go to the right gears. I think if I remember correctly, you did add a bunch of weight to the truck as well, so that would be a reason to go to a bigger can or lower KV. But rather than going lower KV, I would rather go bigger can to get more torque and be able to push all that weight around. That's more important than going to a lower KV. Bigger cans in general will be lower KV just because they can't spin as fast, because you know, the bigger rotors and more mass and stuff. So yeah, stock is 2050 kV. If you're going bigger can, yeah, somewhere in that, you know, probably like 1600 range or 1400 range probably makes sense. But yeah, a bigger can is what you need more than a lower kV. That's my suggestion. Suggestions don't land on the roof, although this thing is pretty dang buggy, pretty dang tough. I did fix the DSC, by the way. It was backwards when I first bound it up with the brushless system, so it is possible. I think those are all the questions. So yeah, that's kind of a 2026 update. Also, Quake Grom is running really well. I think I got the suspension pretty good. I'm running, I think, 37.5 weight up front, 42.5 weight in the rear. As you can see, I got one big, one skinny preload spacer in the back, in the front. I think I've got like two thin ones, one thin one looks like. So yeah, that's why I got suspension set up rise. Maybe go 45 weight in the rear, but it's running pretty good. Yeah, still slaps a bit. Didn't catch it. But yeah, there's a quick update. These ramps are pretty dang cool, you know, for a small little space like this. You don't have any jumps, you can do little tricks and stuff like that. Yeah, $70 for 3 ramps, lightweight, portable. They seem to work pretty good when you hit them. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely, you know, like, subscribe. That's all I really ask. Hype if you enjoy this type of content. And look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.